Before I get into today's episode about Khalil Mack, I just want to let you guys know that today's episode is sponsored by Audible. So Audible, if you're unsure of what it is, it's a great place where you can get audiobooks. Basically, the way it works is that every month you get a couple of free credits for an audiobook. So every month you can do that. And you can get a free trial if you just click the link in the description below. So go ahead, click the link in the description below. It'll take you there. You can also go to audibletrial.com/JKS. That'll take you there. And yeah, get a free trial. And it helps support the channel if you do it. So do that if you feel like it. And if not, anyways, that's fine too. And anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. So Khalil Mack had statistically a bit of a down season last year, specifically when it came to sacks. I mean, it was the first year since his rookie season. He only had single-digit sacks. He had 8.5. So I guess technically 2 digits if you count the decimal point. But, didn't have 10 or more sacks. So, statistically, he definitely had a bit of a down season. Although, that's a bit misleading. I mean, on one hand, yes, he did have a little bit less sacks, but if you use Pro Football Focus's hurries, he actually had more hurries in 2019 than in 2018, although in fairness, he also had over 100 more snaps last year than he did in 2018, but still, I mean, basically the hurries were about the same, so the idea that he played poorly isn't necessarily that true. So, the general thesis for this video is obviously I'm not just going to look at stats, I'm going to break down the tape, and the question is, did Khalil Mack get worse, or have people figured out Khalil Mack in any way? And not really, I guess I would say. Like, for example, he can still beat you in one way in particular, and he can beat you in this way consistently, and it'll be shown on this play, where he's going up one-on-one against 71 right there, and watch how right after the ball is snapped, watch how he's going to just sort of duck to the side like that. That's what he's doing, and this is the main way he will beat you. Get around, use your speed, try to just not have there be a ton of contact, and try to get over and get to the quarterback. That's what his job is on this play. That's what he tends to try and do, and look how well it works. He runs over, and he gets a strip sack on Cousins. So, again, that's kind of just what he's always been able to do, but especially this season, it seemed like he made a conscious effort to do that and to do that consistently. Like, watch, this play is another really good example, where once again, it's going up one-on-one against a left tackle. But again, what's going to be interesting here is watch how far around he goes. He almost starts running to the left side of the screen before getting over. And so at this point, if you're a tackle, his left arm, he can't really get that far over. He pretty much is at just Mack's chest right here. And, this is not a terrible thing to do. I think one of the, there's a clear and obvious good part of it and a bad part of it. The good thing for Mack, of course, is that, you can't get your arm that far over if you're a tackle, so therefore he can, much more easily get past the tackle because the contact isn't perfect and the hand placement isn't perfect for the tackle. But of course, the obvious downside is it just takes longer. It takes longer to get through because you have to run around and do that extra time. Hey, 1 second is everything in pass rushing, so that's not a small deal whatsoever. So that's kind of the pro and the con of it. However, for Mack, it makes a ton of sense to do this consistently because watch how fast he is. I mean, he just gets there so quickly, and he's able to knock the ball out, and that's another thing, too. That's another benefit of not being afraid to take a wide angle and run around, is the fact that it can result in more fumbles because it's more difficult for a quarterback to see where you're coming from if you're coming from exactly at his back, whereas if he sort of broke to the inside, it would have been a lot easier for Jones to realize what was going on. So this is what he likes to do. He likes to use his speed, and again, it's been a lot more apparent last season than it has been in previous seasons. It seemed like in previous seasons, he would, one of the things that makes Mack so great is his combination of speed and strength. But this season, it seemed like he put a lot more emphasis on his speed. I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know if there was injuries. I don't know if he was, he just didn't trust it as much or he trusted his speed a lot more. I really don't know. But it was clear that this is what he was doing. And this play is another example where he's going up one-on-one. This is going to be against Tyron Smith, who, very good player, obviously, fantastic player. And so, again, watch how he's going to, move to the outside. And part of that might have been there was a tight end, and maybe he thought for a second he was going to get double teamed, so he moved a little bit over. But either way, he's definitely getting very far over like he tends to like to do, which, is going to work in the sense that he's going to be able to break through and get to Prescott. Again, one of the reasons this works so well is because for Smith, one thing he could accidentally do as well is if he tried to hold on, it could end up being a holding penalty. So he's going to kind of have to let go, which he is going to do, but Prescott is able to get the ball off before Mack gets there. And that's kind of I think the downside with this kind of move is that you're not going to get very many immediate sacks. You know, the quarterback can pretty much always do something about this. It's kind of an interesting dilemma, I think. And I think it's actually very fascinating where, you know, for Mack, he can pretty much get there in, 3 seconds or less on every play, but he's never going to get there in 1.5 seconds doing this. He has in the past. But in doing this, it's going to take a little bit to get there, but, you're going to get pressure pretty consistently. Like, watch, here's another example. Again, going up one-on-one against a left tackle right here. And a very similar thing is going to happen. Where, in fact, watch what he's going to do here is he's just going to keep his arms down and just let Mack run to that side and then push him back. Mahomes knows to step up in the pocket, and then he can make a throw deep. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing where it's like teams sort of started to realize, hey, if he's only going to do one move, we can work around this move. So I do think that was probably why the sack numbers were a little bit down. And if I had to give Khalil Mack a little piece of advice, and why would he take advice from me? Obviously, that would be silly. But if I were to, I would say that he should probably, try to use some other moves. He definitely has other moves in his repertoire. And it also probably should be mentioned that he's never been a crazy high sack guy. That's never been like his number one thing. He's always kind of been more of a consistent pressure, and he'll make those splash plays where he'll get forced fumbles pretty often. He'll, even occasional interception. He has a couple touchdowns to his name. Sort of things like that more so than actually just, getting double-digit, sacks. I mean, his career high in sacks was 15, which was in 2015. His next highest season was 12.5 sacks in 2018, and then it was 11 sacks, was in his next highest. So it's not like he's some crazy high sack guy. Again, it's usually he gets a lot of tackles. He's a good run stopper. He can get those sacks, and when he does get those sacks, he tends to have them be very, high value, whether it's with a forced fumble or whether it's, turnover or something like that. He tends to have those splash plays. I mean, the guy has 2 interceptions to his name, and they were both touchdowns, which, again, kind of goes to show, he just has a tendency of making the most out of those big plays. The big plays were a little bit down this last season, but I think they're very solvable. I really do. And just talking about the sacks really isn't doing Mack justice because he does so much else well. Like a play like this, what's going to happen is that it's a screen pass, so the halfback just runs a little bit, tries to take the screen. You have a tackle, he'll just block Mack out of the way a little bit, and then he runs out, and he's going to try and block someone else. And that should be an easy way to, get Mack to run forward. He then runs past the halfback. But watch what Mack does here, and watch how Mack really realizes this instantly and immediately goes right next to the halfback to where if this is going to be a throw, it's not going to go for many yards. And they're not even able to get the completion because Mack is able to reach in and knock it away. And you can tell he was kind of hoping maybe he could get the interception on that one, even though that would have been very difficult to do. So, again, honestly, Mack would still be great even if he got 0 sacks. He really would. Now, I think unfortunately for Mack, there's, now it's the constant conversation of should the Bears have traded for Mack? Should the Raiders have traded away Mack? And the reality is I still stand by what I said at the beginning, which was it was a good move for both teams. It propelled the Bears over the top, and had Mitchell Trubisky worked out, they would have had a real shot at winning a Super Bowl, whereas for the Raiders, they had to get rid of him. They had to get the draft picks, and they needed the cap space. So I think it made sense for both sides. I still stand by that. Just because the Bears might not look like they're in a great shape now, I think that has much more to do with just the fact that they spent the number 2 overall pick on someone who turned out to not be that great. But yeah, when you were part of a controversial trade and then you have your sack numbers go down, some people are going to criticize you, but honestly, I don't think he deserves to be criticized too much. I think he's still very good, but that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.